Greetings, brothers and sisters. Got lots of stuff to get to. Can't remember it all. Um, let's start here. I was looking at YouTube trends this morning, and trending on YouTube trends at number 11, Rich Dunk featuring DaBaby in a video called Demon, which features zombies. This is Rich Dunk. Never heard of him before, but he's got a interesting hairdo here, and he's surrounded by zombies, and that's all you need to know about this. You can watch it if you want, but I gave you pretty much all you need to know. Then I saw this on New York Post, controversial video with Iggy Azalea. I am the strip club. She's not just a stripper. She's also the whole club. Be the ball. Be the strip club. And this is all you need to know about this. She is the whole strip club. She's not a stripper. She's the club. Horrifying massive oil pipeline blaze sets Gulf of Mexico on fire. And so this happened. Here's the fire here. There's the oil rig. There's the fire. Remember, a lot of the prophecies out there say the oceans will burn. This is an apocalyptic moment here. The oceans are burning. When the oceans burn, you're in the apocalypse. Pot lover Seth Rogen nails absurdity of Shakira Richardson Olympic suspension. And so this guy, Seth Rogen, who, usually specializes in a bizarre laugh and not being funny, is laying it down here on Twitter. The notion that weed is a problematic drug is rooted in racism. It's insane that Team USA would disqualify one of its country's most talented athletes over thinking that's rooted in hatred. It's something they should be ashamed of. Also, if weed made you fast, I'd be Flojo. So again, they're pushing this idea that banning marijuana from sports is racist. That athletes should partake in marijuana and pot. And CBD is something different, right? Because CBD is actually something that helps inflammation in your body. And athletes suffer from that, obviously. And I don't care if they allow pot either. Like, if you allow people to drink, whatever. Like, that's not the issue here. The issue is whether this is actually racist or not. Because this is being floated out there that it's racist. And nobody thought that before this happened, right? Like, you don't have to smoke pot. It's not something you have to do. It is a choice. And lots of white people smoke pot. Before this so-called controversy happened, I didn't associate marijuana use with African Americans. Like, it's something that I think almost everybody tries pot now. It's probably, the majority of Americans try pot at one time in their life, and lots of white people globally. And it's a choice. It isn't like she said, well, this is a racist policy, and I'm going to smoke pot and fail a drug test as protest. She said that she knew the rules. Her mom died. She got emotional, thought she needed to smoke some pot. She did, got busted, and now she's not in the Olympics. So it's not, some political statement. And it implies that, African American people can't stop themselves from smoking pot. It's like something they have to do, which is, you could say that's racist, just having that sort of an idea. And that the rule, like, people don't know who made the rule, why the rule is there. And it's not just about pot use. There's all these other recreational drugs that are banned from the Olympics. So here are the long list of drugs banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency. You think about people like Lance Armstrong, and all these Tour de France guys that got caught using, cheating methodologies, doping. Lance Armstrong was a hero, celebrated, a guy who beat cancer, somebody who was an inspirational story, and now he's a cheater, right? And they do extensive sort of, these are the lists of blood doping, banned androgenic agents, hormones and related substances, of course, testosterone, stimulants, diuretic, mask agents, narcotics, and cannabinoids. So morphine, oxycodone, oxymorphone, any sort of these pain-relieving things, fentanyl, beta blockers. These are the lists of things that are banned from the Olympics. These are the different stimulants, cocaine, which is a drug that's associated more with white people, I think, meth and things like this, right? So methamphetamine, these are all the things that are banned from the Olympics. These are the stimulant bans, and these are the narcotic bans and cannabinoids, right? And so, like these are all banned, and these cover a wide range of demographics and people that use them. And so it isn't like they just put threw marijuana in there to be racist against African American people or people of color around the world. These drugs cover a wide variety of recreational drugs. Almost every recreational drug is here. So this is clearly a case where somebody searched this and would realize that these policies aren't racist, right? These policies are clearly anti-drug. And a lot of these drugs are things like, what if you were, you got injured and you need some sort of pain relief. I mean, that happens all the time. And you just have to suck it up because you can't take some sort of morphine or something that would help you deal with severe pain. And that's not going to help you in terms of your performance. So clearly all of these people, Seth Rogen included, right? Seth Rogen is, like just a dope, and and he has a proclivity towards pot, so that's why he decided to sound off about this. He's also a liberal, and when you say, well, it's racist, then it adds a level of zing to it, right? If you say it's stupid, why do they have a policy that you can't smoke pot? How does pot help you in terms of your performance? It seems like an outdated rule. No one's going to listen to you. But if you say, oh, this policy is racist, then you put the powers that be on the defensive. And that's happening all the time now. You see claims of racism everywhere. And again, if you just do a little research and say, all right, what are the other substances like I just did, you'll see that there is a pattern here, that anything that is considered recreational drugs is banned, right? Like if they're banning meth and they're banning cocaine and they're banning pot, well, then there's a pattern here. There's an anti-drug pattern, and they want these athletes to set good examples for kids. That's what the rule is. So what Seth Rogen is saying, and then so many other people, he's not the only one, this is the general tone from the media and celebrity culture because of their, they're wanting to come up with another narrative. They're blaming the anti-drugging agencies of the Olympics for her mistake. This woman, Shakira Richardson, knew the rule, and what if she had taken cocaine, right? Or what if she had taken, some oxycodone or something like that to deal with the pain? The results would still be the same. That she knew she couldn't take drugs, but she said she was under so much pressure and grief and, whatever it was, she had an edible with THC in it, and she ended up getting drug tested, which she knew she was. If you get a spot on the Olympic team, they immediately drug test you because, they want to know as quickly as possible if they have to put in an alternate or whatever it is. And there's those are just the recreational drugs. I mean, there's all these substances that they look for in international competition because there's cheaters. And so celebrities like Seth Rogen and all of these people are trying to throw the blame on the Olympic Committee and, that this is somehow racist and this girl is the victim of these racist policies. But in reality, she made a mistake, which she acknowledged. She might have a reason for it, grief, whatever it is, but it was still a mistake in terms of her wanting to compete in the Olympics. She made a choice, and as soon as she made that choice, it was over. She was going to be tested, and they were going to find THC in her system. The moment she put the edible in her mouth, the edible with THC in it, it was over. And that's 100% on her. But they're making it into something else. And just a little bit of research and understanding, they would see that they are being conspiracy theorists, right? But this kind of conspiracy theory is okay, right? So let's go through this here. So I'm going to go back to this article yesterday. The Olympics don't want black women to win. And so that's a theory. That's a thesis. We already disproved the drug part about it because they're banning all kinds of different drugs. But here's a person that probably doesn't know very much about sports either, because here's the race where Sha'Carri Richardson qualified for the Olympics. And all the women in this race are African American. They are black women. In fact, I follow the 100-meter dash every year. I mean, every 4 years in terms of the Olympics. I watch it in the Olympics. And I don't remember any time in my lifetime a white person won either the men's or the women's 100-meter dash in my entire lifetime. I don't remember a relevant person who wasn't African American, someone from America or Jamaica. I mean, that's who wins, either people from Jamaica or America. It's always black women or black men that win this race. The woman who's going to replace Sha'Carri Richardson is black, and all the women on the team are black. And other than Jamaica or America, maybe there's someone from another country, but it'll also probably be a black person, will win this race, just from recent history. Like, it'd be a shocker if you saw somebody of another ethnicity, either a white person or an Asian person or something, that was relevant in the 100-meter dash. And so it isn't like these policies were going to prevent a black woman from winning this race or taking first, second, and third, gold, silver, and bronze. Those are all going to be won by black women. And so the person just didn't do her research, right? The person who wrote this article and made these accusations. And the reason I'm bringing this up again in a second video is because people in the truth community, people who are truthers, understand that they're under scrutiny. Sometimes they jump to conclusion. There's a lot of paranoia and false accusations in the truth community. But these networks, NBC News, I showed you an ad in a recent video where they were talking about how they present facts over conspiracy theories. But they do present conspiracy theories when it's against Trump or if somebody accuses somebody else of racism. But those are all things that are, those aren't cool either, right? If you are going to accuse people of racism, that is a very powerful charge, especially in 2021. And if you don't have evidence and facts to support it, you should get the same scrutiny on social media and mainstream media as truthers and so-called conspiracy theorists, right? Because I talk about this all the time. Are you against the behavior? Because they say they're against fake news and conspiracy theories and things that are false, but they're really not, right? The mainstream media and social media, like, people can claim that somebody else is a racist. They can do it constantly over anything, and that's okay. If it's proven not to be true, the person who made the false accusation isn't banned, right? And these are things that are happening all the time. And I'm saying this because I deal with this with people in the truth community. There's a great comment that came in today is a good example of this. And to understand the comment, I often talk about this. People announce things like they're fact. This is a factual statement. The Olympics don't want black women to win. And so she doesn't prove it in the article. I scanned the article, this woman who wrote the article. And then we have the statements made by Seth Rogen that were stated like they're fact, right? The notion that weed is a problematic drug is rooted in racism, well, that is an unproven fact. It's insane Team USA would disqualify one of the country's most talented athletes over thinking that's rooted in hatred. And that sounds like a factual statement, and it's not. Like, he doesn't know anything he's talking about, because we know that there is across the board rules against penalties, disqualification against anybody using any sort of recreational drug other than alcohol, which is, legal, and that's a whole different story, right? But he doesn't know what he's talking about. These are factual statements, but they're not facts. So I bring this up periodically if you've watched my videos over the years. Then when I first started to make videos, these truther videos, and I was much more serious. My videos were more serious, less joking around when I first started doing this. I realized that a lot of the theories that were put out and circulated in the so-called truth community, and this is before there was any scrutiny and they were banning and deplatforming people on social media, there was a lot of lies and disinformation that was repeated in the so-called truth community. And it's much worse now, but of course now they deplatform people and ban them. And there's all these fact checkers out there, and all the fact checkers are, they're liberal oriented. They're Democrats, right? There's no right-wing fact checkers. There's no truther fact checkers. I mean, I guess the whole truth community is in a way a fact-checking community. But these claims by Seth Rogen and by the woman who wrote this article on Huffington Post aren't going to be fact-checked, right? In terms of what people consider legitimate fact-checkers that are, somehow in line with the media. Like Facebook, if you put this article up on Facebook from Huffington Post or the Seth Rogen quote, they're not going to put a qualifying statement with a fact checker and things like that, because it's all one-sided. But anyways, back in the early part of the, internet exposing some of these alternative narratives in what became known as the truth community, there was a lot of narratives, faulty claims, disinformation that was put out by some truther here or there. Somebody would announce things like it was a fact in a video, some popular person, Alex Jones or somebody, and everybody else would repeat it like it was fact, like the research had been done and it was a proven fact. And I did that myself because I thought the people who had put out the information were, they were honest, or they had some sort of ethics, or they had good critical thinking skills, all which turned out to be false. Plus, there was a lot of governmental agents or whatever it was, right? Shills, professional trolls out there. And so I started to check out things that were, fundamental building blocks that people in the truth community said and announced like they were fact. And I realized so many of them didn't have any factual evidence behind them. Some of them could have been true. Some of them were definitely not true. But all of them were not factual. And then I made videos saying, look, I'm going to change the way I do videos here. First, I'm always going to sort of repeat the official story so everyone knows what the official story is. And I'm going to be clear about what's speculation and what's not, and, all these types of things. Because a lot of what's presented on the internet is just people speculating. And sometimes people are, they're, quality speculation, right? It's quality, theories. And some of them are just ridiculous. And there's so much of the stuff now in the truth community with the QBs. When the QBs, when Q came around, then all this stuff just went to crap, right? Because they pretty much everything that they put out was ridiculous, and they were announcing it like fact, and they attacked people who questioned. I mean, they would write comments and, attack me for disagreeing with their insanity, right? And, so many of us experienced that. And so the internet has grown into that, and it's certainly not just the truth community. Lots of people just announce reality like, these are facts when they're not. And oftentimes people are completely wrong. And so as time has gone on, I've turned my channel into a comedy channel. I keep it light here. I mean, this is part of all of that, right? Because I don't want to be considered a journalist. I'm not a journalist. This is not journalism. I'm not reporting on the news. I'm just giving my opinions and talking about what I see. But even in that, I want to be right. Like, I want to present, quality information. So I do what I consider good quality research. And I, am clear. I try to be as clear as possible. Sometimes, it might not be clear to people what's factual, what's whatever it is, right? What's speculation, what are just jokes and things, which is something that everyone should evolve into in the truth community because, if you're going to criticize the media being fake news and so many people are just repeating things that are fake and false, like they're fact, with a lot of emotion and conviction, like is happening here in this case, right? With these people talking about Sha'Carri Richardson's situation, it must be racist, right? It must be racist. Let's just say it's racist. Let's come from the point of view that it's racist. So I'm going to give an example of this. This person wrote this comment to me, and it says this. Paul Roman O. So it says Paul, and then Roman is in capitals, and the O on the end of my name, Romano, is an O. So, claiming I'm Roman or something, which my last name means from Rome. It's my grandfather was Sicilian, so a person named Romano means that one of their ancestors came from Rome. Paul Romano has 201,000 followers. And then the person says in parentheses, event 201. So the person is linking me to event 201, and I'll explain what that is, because I have 200,001 subscribers. And the person goes on to say Jesuits equal 201. So he's trying to say, because of my subscriber list, I'm a Jesuit. I'm going to come back to all these things. And it says, this is an absolute shill channel that shows you nothing but BS. Every single day. I stopped watching a long time ago because I can't stomach it to watch CGI deepfake Joe Biden anymore. Well, a long time ago must have been before I had 201,000 subscribers, because my channel was stuck on 199,000 subscribers for like a year and a half, right? And so let's go through this. So first of all, this is event 201. The Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, hosted Event 201, a high-level pandemic exercise on October 18th, 2019 in New York, New York. The exercise illustrated areas where public-private partnerships will be necessary during the response to a severe pandemic in order to diminish large-scale economic and societal consequences. If you don't know what public and private partnerships are, PPPs, it's something the UN has been pushing for a very long time, where they want, like, say, road ownership or bridge ownership or like the Grand Canyon ownership to be half governmental and half corporate, with corporations doing most of the administration. So if you think about this person, right, is accusing me of being associated with Bill and Melinda Gates, the World Economic Forum, and this event that happened that was somehow a part of like a training run for the pandemic of 2020. And so those are severe accusations, right? For my audience, those are severe accusations, calling me a shill and all these things, which happens all the time. So, you get numb to it, but I thought about it. And so first of all, the person is using faulty math. So they say, well, I have 201,000 subscribers. So therefore, based in that, I must be connected to event 201. And so 200,001 are much different than 201. But to add to that, I don't have 200,001 subscribers. I have 200,001 and 346, right? So the numbers, if you're a numerology person or whatever that thing's called, and again, don't tell me, don't care, don't need to know. People are always asking me if I know about the science of numbers. I don't know what it has to do with, right? but I don't do the numbers thing. But a lot of people in the truth community are into the numbers thing. But the person doesn't even get their numbers right. And then that would also imply that I have some control over my subscribers, right? That, I can somehow delete subscribers, which I can't, add subscribers, which I can't. It's up to YouTube and you all to determine the amount of subscribers I have. And so that has zero to do with me. And I say this all the time because, sometimes a video will get stuck on 666, which is, going to be YouTube's choice. They won't update the numbers, or people say I'm the 666 like, and, people spaz out. But when you're going above 666, you're going to have to pass through 666. Like people point this out all the time. Oh, wow, your video has 666 likes or whatever it might be. Whatever, number that they consider some, conspiracy behind it. But that number is going to be passed by at some point, right? I mean, there was a time that I had 666 videos up. Like now I have thousands, but one video was the 666, right? And so you're going to have to pass through these numbers, 13, whatever it is, bad luck numbers. And so that doesn't mean anything, right? It just so happens when the person wrote this comment, those were the amount of subscribers. And YouTube just purged out of a lot of subscribers. And so, right now I'm basically stuck on 200,001, but at some point it's either going to go down or up, and their theory no longer applies. So this very severe accusation linking me to Bill and Melinda Gates and the World Health Organization or the World Economic Forum is ridiculous, right? It's made by somebody who can't, think their way out of a paper bag. And yet it happens all the time, right? I'm talking about this in terms of, just get a grasp on yourself. Like these are the kind of comments I get. I would say about 10 to 15% of comments are, maybe they're not personalized towards me, but they're just people announcing things like it's reality that I know are factually wrong. Like I can guarantee that what this person's talking about or these people are talking about is just crap, right? It's people announcing reality and they're like, crazy and paranoid and all these things. And so the person then says, Jesuits equal 201. And so now the person's saying, I'm a Jesuit or connected to Jesuits. And everybody who knows what I do here knows that my primary and the thing I'm most passionate about is doing the heartfulness meditation. I talk about it quite frequently. Heartfulness meditation comes from India. It's based in ancient Raja Yoga, and it is, predates all the major religions, certainly the Jesuits, certainly Christianity, certainly all the, major other religions. It predates all of these things, right? And it has nothing to do with the Jesuits and, all those things. Like I know almost nothing about the Jesuits, only various theories that have been put out there in the truth community. And so the person's accusing me of being a Jesuit, and all they have to do is look at any of my videos and realize that I do something that is, far different. I mean, the false accusation, to be like a little bit more legitimate, should be something like, oh, you do yoga and yoga is demonic, because that's what some Christians believe. Like that's, like remedial thinking by people who don't know anything about yoga or about the true history of God and religion, and that so much of all the religions that exist now come from ancient Hinduism. Like the idea of a soul was discovered in India about 200,000 years ago. And now all these other religions have included the idea of a soul in their religion. But it originated, this idea was found out in India. And so many spiritual and scientific discoveries actually originated in ancient India in the Vedic age and have been passed through humanity in other places in the world. But they got their root or origin, especially to do with God and spirituality, because India is, the best place to pursue a relationship with God. But aside from that, this person is just blatantly wrong, and this is just a common comment on the internet, right? And comparing this to what Seth Rogen said, And this woman said, right, where people just announce facts, it's a problem. It's a behavior. It's a behavior that everyone should realize. You now have access to more people when you're communicating on social media, and you should train yourself to be a better thinker. You should learn how to think before you learn how to talk, right? Before you learn to run your mouth on the internet, you got to work on your insides, your ability to assess things, be more responsible. Why just put out lies? And a lot of these things people wish they're true, wish that they are true, right? This person wishes I was a Jesuit because they're butthurt about one of my videos or something, whatever their reasoning is. Like Seth Rogen and this woman who, writes for a subheading on Huffington Post that's called Black Voices. Like, they want this to be a racist policy. They're looking for racism. They, everything that they look at, they, view as it must be racist. They come in with a prejudice, an idea that it must be racist, right? Seth Rogen, who loves pot, anything that is against pot must be messed up in some way, right? Because pot is his, primary passion. And so people come in with these, pre-existing ideas, prejudices, and they're going to see the world the way they want to see it based in that. So then the person says, this is an absolute shill channel who shows you nothing but BS every single day. I stopped watching a long time ago. Well, again, why are you here now? Because I couldn't stomach it to watch CGI deepfake Joe Biden anymore. And so, that is what it is, right? But I'm talking about a behavior here where people now have a louder voice. You have more range in your voice because of the internet. And more people are going to get exposed to what's inside of you and your view of the world. And so if you are going to put out information and energy and vibrations, right? This is the heartfulness system where you want to have the purest vibrations. You want to put out loving vibrations. You want to put out loving energy. But everyone's just so consumed with their egotistical crap and their low-level emotions of anger and hatred and, victimization. Like, everyone's claiming to be a victim. And you see this quite often in the truth community where people are like, for example, they get unsubscribed from my channel and they say, YouTube is censoring you. And that is, maybe the case. YouTube is pushing back against truther channels and social media is banning truther channels. So there is some legitimacy in this idea that people who are in the so-called truth community are being censored because we are judged more harshly. People who have an alternative opinion to the mainstream narrative have are being judged more harshly and in some cases deplatformed. But that doesn't mean everything that happens has to do with that. For example, YouTube just purged out a lot of subscribers from, a lot of channels around the internet. They do that periodically. And people who aren't in the truth community, YouTube creators, have the same experience. And so some of these things, they might be censorship, but they're not proven to be censorship, right? And there's all these things that are claimed to be, this or that in the truth community where they're not factually, and they're not factual, and people are announcing them like they're factual. And so that's something everyone has to be aware of, right? Like, this is, a huge problem where if you're going to put out information, then be disciplined. If you're going to act like a journalist, then be a journalist, right? If you're going to put information out, like, just don't make things up to get views. I mean, people do that, or sensationalize things because it'll be a video that will do better or to make money or all these things, right? Use some common sense and have some common decency, right? Develop some internal character qualities and then look at things. Like, all these people who are putting this idea out there that the marijuana rule in the Olympics, the Olympic ban, is racist, haven't done any research on it at all. And there's nobody censoring them, right? They don't have anybody fact-checking them. They're just putting out this information. And if somebody says something's racist, like, everyone's like, oh, let's take a look at that, right? And they tend to believe it without checking the facts. And that's something that is completely one-sided. There's also this, I saw this from Politico. White House calls Sha'Carri Richardson an inspiring woman, but stops short of opposing suspension. And so this is another way that Joe Biden and his crew are trying to walk a tight line here. But in reality, she broke a rule. Like, there's truth to this thing. But Joe Biden isn't going to come out. His White House isn't going to come out because of the liberal agenda here. And then all these other, factors that go into something like this. When the truth and discipline are no longer valued, right? People are in their feelings, they're in their emotions, and they want to believe things. And that's all across the internet now. People have maximized their confirmation bias so that, what that means is that people will look for information and interpret information based in their internal belief system. So they'll look for information that validates what they already believe inside, which is the opposite of pursuing truth. In science, they come up with a theorem or a theory. This is how science is supposed to work. And then they go out and rigorously try to disprove their own theory because other people are going to do it, right? But science is no longer like that for the most part, but that's how it's supposed to be. Where you have a theory, you come up with an idea, or there's some evidence supporting a scientific reality, and then you have to go about the business of trying to disprove it. And if you can't, then you say, all right, this is a scientific fact. But that's, not how people operate anymore. Everyone is just wanting something to confirm what they already believe. They want people around them that agree with their internal belief system. And then if you disagree with them, they come up with a label for you. You're a shill if you disagree with a QB. You're a racist if you disagree with a liberal, right? Whatever it might be. And so this is how the world is. And we live now in a divided world. One of my friends on Facebook, I guess, pointed this out. Somebody had posted this on Facebook, and it says, Fauci warns there may soon be two Americas. And the person referenced my idea of the year of the schism because people are getting divided. He's talking about something specific that's dividing Americans, a choice that's being made. But there's many things that are dividing Americans right now, and people are breaking up into these various demographics, and they don't look at the other people as having any valid type of opinion. Like there's no openness to the other people's point of view. The Republicans and Democrats, left and right, the racial demographics, the stuff to do with people's sexual orientation, all these things that people just believe in what they believe, right? And they don't acknowledge the other side. You see this in the truth community, even within divisions of the truth community. People are getting more and more divided, and that never ends well. Like, this is the beginning of the end of America, divide and conquer, the year of the schism. And I talk about this. Yoga means union, this idea of connecting to God inside. There's a division between people's internal, the internal world between God and their soul and then the ego, and they're not on the same page. I mean, your God and your soul are always on the same page, but then your ego and your persona and your personality, and people are divided within themselves. There's a schism between their spiritual reason for being here, their soul's path, and their materialistic wants and desires and their egotistical expression of who they are and what they want, from the world. And that's, that has to be solved. That's why the Heartfulness Meditation is about union, bringing a person together, your ego aligning with your soul's path and God's plan. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing for the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.